I've been get making messes, cleaning them up, making new different messes. You know what I do.
Isn't that pretty much just life? Hey,
Yep,
yeah.
it's just an endless carousel of messes that you've made and that you have to then deal with, and it never ends.
Well,
Fantasy, art history with Abelard and Joe.
Okay.
today we're looking at the work of one of my favorite artists, Daisuke Ishiwatari. Apologies if I messed up his name.
Well, what's he do?
He is the guy who designed, directed, and significantly illustrated the video game series Guilty Gear.
Oh, you play that video game, yeah?
Yeah, I really like to play Guilty Gear.
Did you
I
win
think it's
it?
so great. Did I ever win it?
Oh, yeah. Did you win?
Are you winning, son?
Are you winning, Abelard? At Guilty Gear?
Well, yeah, I have had two big wins in Guilty Gear, and both of them are kind of modest. The kinds of, we take them.
Mm,
One is I won my local tournament one of the days when none of the really, really good players showed up.
wow. What'd you win?
$25.
Hey,
Yeah, not so bad, right?
no, that's real money. You can
Yeah,
buy it.
I could almost buy dinner.
Yeah.
The other thing is I went to Frosty Faustings, which is a Midwest, they call them majors, so national scale tournaments.
Well,
And then I won one match, which is, not everybody wins one match. And then I lost two, and some of the viewers might recognize this name, Leffen, the surly, Swedish, tall fighting game wonderkind, Leffen himself.
wow. What
Yep,
was it like?
stressful and disorienting. He was very nice,
Wow.
or kind of whatever, you know. But he
So,
wasn't mean to me.
so you're qualified to talk about this artwork, I guess, huh?
Few are more qualified. That's what I'd say. Yeah, so and I said all the stuff about all the different roles he's played. Like he did the character designs and lore and stuff. Um, he also composed some of the music. He wrote
Did
some
you
of the
write the
lyrics.
music?
Yeah,
So I take it that this particular video game,
yeah,
Guilty Gear, a fighting game,
yeah. Oh
is
yeah, we should say it. It's a fighting game. It's like Street Fighter, but crazier.
um in a way this is a sort of like auteur video game where it's the vision of one man and his all of the what he loves.
Yeah, to some, I think to the extent that you accept auteurism in film, I think you can accept it here for this guy. Especially, I think the earlier work is more like singular vision, and then it seems to become a little more diverse and collaborative later on. But I can actually show you some footage of what the game looks like now in the newest version. Ready?
Yeah, well, what you mean by that, of course, is that
Is that Joe? Please pull
Joe
up.
can click the button with his little nose. There it is.
Wow, look at that.
Well,
Okay.
it's wow.
Yeah.
I'm disoriented.
Yeah. So that's Eno. She's a time traveling witch who can fly, and then that's Asuka who draws spells and then he out of a deck like Magic the Gathering, and then he uses them to cast cubes at you.
Wow.
Yeah, looks like this character got mixed. So he's at the wall now.
There's a lot on the screen at all times, it looks like.
Yeah, it's one of those games. It really takes a while to get used to. Uh-oh, super. This is called Megalovania. Get command grabbed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's it is beautiful to look at, although it makes me want to sit in a dark room for a while also.
Yes, I think it is the one of the most visually striking games I've ever played, and certainly the best looking fighting game.
They move so pretty. Their clothes are swirling around. That guy has a galaxy in his cape,
Yeah,
and it's full, the screen is full of boxes. How can you
yeah,
possibly tell what you're doing while you play this game? How is it
yeah.
even possible to do it?
By playing for hundreds and hundreds of hours, and then going on Discord and saying, when he's doing the cube and it's swirling around you, what's going on? And then the answer is, you're cooked. You
Oh.
lose. Yeah.
Wow. So should we look at some of the the art where this guy who created this incredible magical fight world
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
let's
click
take a look.
again. Okay, check it out. Here's what it in its original
Yeah.
conceptual form.
Yeah.
Here we go. Wow, who's
Yeah.
this sexy fellow?
Yeah, you didn't think it would be so sort of like beautiful and wayfish. This is Zato 1, the name of pawn in Japanese, right? Zato Ichi.
Mhm.
Um, and that this is my character. This is my favorite fighting game
This
character.
is
I love
all
Zato so much.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
his deal?
Well, if you see that little demon that he's sort of melding into, that's his shadow. And so you can summon the demon, and then the demon comes up out of the ground. And then it's like you're controlling two fighting game characters at once. And then you put people in repeating unreactable mix-ups.
Wow.
Yeah.
I usually think of fighting game characters as looking like a big tough guy who punches,
Yeah.
but this is not that at all. This is something else.
A lot of fighting game characters are either a big tough guy who punches, or a woman in a bikini who kicks you in the jaw.
Yeah, that's true. I guess there are two ways to look at a piece of art like this. We can look at it as sort of a disconnected drawing.
Yeah.
Um, and in that sense, I don't know, it's like looking at a like pinup art.
Yeah.
The way that even like old I remember seeing like old like 1950s pinup drawings where you like this you kind of don't draw anything behind the lady.
Yes.
It's just the lady and
It's very direct. Didn't you want to look at a lady? Oh, you want to look at a
here
background?
she is. I
Yeah.
don't know, why would you put the background in? That's not interesting. She doesn't need a landscape. She's just a disconnected lady. You can paint her on your airplane.
Yeah.
You can paint this guy on an airplane.
You could.
He would look great. You could have to do him sideways, I guess, but
Yeah.
that would be cool. Someone should do that. Anyway, see, because he does look very streamlined. He looks fast.
uh, I think that it is a pinup, but it's also it's very graphic. Hey, aren't all pinups graphic? But no, what I mean is more that, um, like if you just sort of like squint your eyes and just look at the colors and forms, you can see that everything is built around some simple, clear shapes, right? The sweep of the hair and then the mirrored shapes of Zato and then his little shadow guy whose name is Eddie. And then their limbs, right? Zato's uh, coquettish leg echoing Eddie's creepy little hand. And then the hair kind of breaking up that relationship and keeping it from being too like perfect or too much echoed between things.
Yeah, I here's some stuff I appreciate about this.
Yeah.
The amount of detail on Zato's boob,
Yes.
very carefully drawn detail, but not color just laid in flat color. All this pink just like that, not too much. This is something that I think is I struggle with it anyway. Doing an ink drawing, putting all of this like careful detail in because you're looking and thinking about it in black and white, and you want to do all the little straps, the
Yeah.
little things, all of that stuff, and then it comes time to color, and then you all of a sudden it turns into this muddy mess because if you treat the color and the ink as with the same amount of like I don't know if you weigh them the same, put the same amount of detail in, it just gets harder and harder to get an image that looks good. And I think that he dealt with that really well here by just flat pink. The ink is doing the
Yeah.
work here. I'm not going to go in and color the laces a different color. None of that. You don't need it. It's not what that's about. I did all that work with ink.
This Zato is also his outfit is not usually pink.
Mm,
And Eddie is not usually this sort of like pale gray color. This is like impressionistic coloring. This is more about a mood than about faithfully going on model, right, with the character.
right. I gotta say, this is probably markers too, right?
Yes, a
Or
lot of
pens.
this is getting done with marker.
Art marker is, in my opinion, the single most hardest medium to deal with.
Strong agree.
Yeah.
Strongly agree.
The reason for that, if you've never tried them, and these are those like if you go to an art supply store, like the Copics or the Prismacolors, they come in a, you'll see them in a big stand or behind the counter. They come in 300 million different shades, and you basically get one single chance to lay down your flat plane of color, vibrant, transparent, beautiful. Mess it up. What? Well,
Yeah.
toss that one out, I guess. Get a little bit outside of your line. Accidentally let it get too dry and then draw over it. Well, now it's twice as dark there.
Yeah.
Throw it out. No more drawing. You messed it up.
Yeah.
Too bad for you.
And he's using them here both to lay down these flat colors with a little gradation and then to do really sculpting, three-dimensional color on Eddie, right?
Yeah, and you can see like one thing I'm looking at right now is that there's a gray shadow coming off of the demon's ear,
Yeah.
laying across his neck as he looks away from you. And that's one, you can even kind of make out the chisel and because those markers are like flat chisel tips. That's one little stroke of marker in just the right spot to define that shadow. So you have to sit there while you're drawing and think, shadow here, marker, this position. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe you don't have to think about it that hard once you're as good as he clearly is with this medium, but it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I've never learned how to use them. They're so hard, but they do give you this vibrant, like gorgeous sort of tone. If you can use them, it's super impressive.
Yeah.
Nice flat blacks behind his face, so you can see his face in there under his hair. That like is the old. Where's your attention going to be drawn to the places of very high contrast? So that white of head next to black shadow there. That's lets you know there's the guy. There he is.
And then using the black on his right leg to, I think, play two roles, maybe even three. Echo the black somewhere else, so it's getting picked up somewhere. Say we aren't really worried about this part of the figure, right? So sort of like focusing on his front leg, and then also resolving how you render him turning into Eddie at the bottom, right? Which is where the drawing gets very goopy and crazy and like non-anatomical, just sculptural and weird.
Yeah,
Like look at the puddle of goop at the bottom that's sort of collecting, right? That's crazy. Look.
it is really wild. And this is very there's probably a lot of weird lore in this video game, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's been around for a while.
Since I think the original Guilty Gear came out in like 1998,
Yeah.
so it's been around for a little while.
So I think we have some footage of.
Oh yeah. So let's quickly let me prompt one thing, which is think about no, you can go hop over. But think about how the character designs fit specifically the needs of a fighting game. So if we're gonna look at some footage. This is early 2010s, maybe 2012. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R.
That's the name of it.
Yeah.
Wait, say it again.
Guilty Gear XX Accent Core Plus R.
Wow.
Yeah. So for instance, Zato has those like long kind of like opera gloves that are fingerless. And in fighting games, because you're punching each other, it's usually a good idea to have your character wear fingerless gloves so there's a point of high contrast, so you can always tell where people's hands are, right? Um, Similarly, in fighting games, everybody's poses need to be instantaneously recognizable. Look at how this character with the giant key is like contorting herself as she goes, right? With every motion. So I think it sort of compels you to think about posing in this dramatic, very extreme way.
She like she drags has to drag the key around with her. Why does she have a giant key?
The giant key is a kind of like magical demonic weapon that she thinks she's married to.
They're married.
Yeah.
She's married to the key.
I think it might be kind of a more one-sided relationship where she is in love with the key and the key maybe doesn't feel the same way.
Oh, that's so sad.
But she's an alchemical homunculus, so she's powered by blood, and so you can either suck people's blood out with the key or you can pop a blood pack. You can see them in the bottom right-hand corner. You've got three per round, and if you chomp one, then you go into super mode. and the friendly key head turns into the goat head.
This is really complicated, actually.
Yeah, this is the best video game in the world, so it might be a little complicated. See, she just ate a blood pack, so now he's the goat head.
Oh wow, is she good? Is she good at the game? I mean, is she good to play?
You mean is she high tier?
I don't know what that means. Is she? If you play her, is she like good to play?
Well, what happens is the thing that just happened in that last round, which is you run out of blood, go into a stun animation, and get killed. So while she is, I don't think people think she's the worst character in the game or anything, but she does have some pretty extreme downsides. But she's very fun. Look at your long bombos you get to do. Bam, unblockable. Moroha mode, Goku Moroha, butt loops,
Wow, I know what you're
orbs,
talking about right now. I'm gonna turn off the
get
video
stung.
so we can get back to our real thing here. Hang on. Phew.
Okay,
Oh wait,
talking about art, I suppose.
yeah, here we go. Wait, forget about that one. Oh, I thought I had this all figured out. There we go.
Okay,
Okay, phew.
okay, wow.
Okay, forget the last 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Wow,
What have we
amazing.
here?
Abelard, lately, I've really been studying how to use OBS and I'm way better at it now. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I think you're doing an excellent job, Joe.
Why, thank you so much. Wow, what's this? It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. The magic eye style, do any shapes leap out at you?
Hmm. I mean, it does all seem to be rushing towards me. That
Yes.
is for sure. I can tell that whatever is going on in here, it's really coming right at me in an intimidating way. So it does have that going for it. It's got that like there's like an architectural thing in the background
Yeah.
in this 1 point perspective, but also it's sort of a fisheye perspective where it's like, wow, it's whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but there is a guy in there, I guess.
If you look closely, there's a guy. The
Yeah.
other things I see are the giant handcuff on the left-hand side, the folded hands at the bottom, which again are really beautifully drawn,
Yeah.
and the little cherubs, specifically the way the bottom left and right hand corners, and specifically the way the wings are drawn on the cherubs looks just like Mike Mignola to me. It to an extent that makes me wonder if that was like an actual deliberate influence.
It's neat to see the line drawing before seeing the colored version.
Yeah.
If I wonder if he was like drew this because it looks like if you looked at this and said this is an abstract drawing, you'd be like, wow, this is a cool abstract drawing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is a drawing of, but it does look very deliberate and good. But I wonder if he drew this and was like, well, it's kind of hard to tell what you're looking at here, but the colors will do that job.
Yeah.
Should we look at the colored version now?
Yeah, let's take a
Let's
look at
take a
how
look.
this is realized in color.
Here we go.
Bam.
There we are.
So one thing is it's more legible, but it's not
It's not super legible.
insanely more legible. It still challenges you to make heads or tails of what you're looking at.
It does, and this is also true of the finished video game that these drawings
Yeah.
are for. It does make me wonder if legibility is maybe not top of the goal list.
Yeah, I mean,
Or,
anytime,
or either that or like legibility is kind of I don't know. It's just trying something different. Like it just wants to be more and more and more, and knowing what's going on is secondary to this sort of coming at you high excitement,
yeah,
like baroque sensibility of like, can we cram more stuff on the screen at any given time? If so, go for it.
I do think it's primarily about excitement. And it is a game series that's been fairly um, restless in its formula. So they've experimented a lot with different styles. There was a version of the game that was like a 3D brawler that was kind of like League of Legends. There was a version of the game that was like 4 players, like Super Smash Bros. This the newest version of the game is pretty mechanically different from older versions. Like there's a lot of experimentation. I think that being difficult to tell what's going on is true in basically all fighting games, no matter how legibly they're designed, just because fighting games are balanced around Twitch reaction time to some extent.
So it's the there all of that overwhelming amount of visual information that's happening when you watch those videos. Which I was one of the things I was thinking watching this was like what it reminds me of a little bit is the like when people do like slot machines, which I've
Yeah.
never done.
Yeah, yeah.
But the idea that like you're getting little pings and all of the little pings keep you sort of it's this just like gives you a little dopamine and then you keep on gambling.
Well, let's talk about that because the reason slot machines have a lot of little pings and the reason that gives you the dopamine hit is because it's coupled with a reward. Your brain is trying to analyze all of that extraneous information for a pattern or like how can I
Hmm.
learn how to beat the slot machine, right? The folderol on a slot machine is designed to trick you into thinking there's an underlying system.
Right.
All the folderol in Guilty Gear is actually real information. There is a pattern for you to learn there. And there are things like, you know, counter hit confirming or doing positive bonus loops or whatever that rely on your ability to be aware of the things coming up on the screen.
Got it. Really interesting. So in
Yeah.
a way, like reducing this incredibly energetic medium to a picture of a guy and then
Yeah.
but trying to hang on to this like overwhelming fast everything is moving
Yeah.
everything is as like keyed up emotionally as possible.
Hmm.
That's that's a hard project to give yourself as an artist.
Yeah. I think that in all of this work, you can feel a tremendous amount of affection coming from the artist for his work, like for the mood. Like this is a drawing of Soul Bad Guy, the main character of Guilty Gear.
So bad guy.
Soul Bad Guy. And
Is he
he's a tortured anti-hero.
um
He's the most powerful guy in the world, and he's secretly a demon.
oh of course.
Yeah. Um, the thing is, and there, in some iterations of the game, Daisuke has voiced Soul, right? Like he has been the one saying "volcanic viper" or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, he loves this character, and he thinks about this character, and like it specifically. So this is from in a book of Guilty Gear art from I think 2000 to 2007. And so a lot of them have little blurbs where he talks about his process. And he said that one thing that gave him a lot of energy when drawing this was just giving Soul new clothes and gear and stuff. Like he had been working on developing the game, so he felt like all the drawings had to be very on model. And here he's really experimenting, like with that glove with the cross-shaped cutaway.
It is very Guilty Gear is extremely fashion forward,
Yeah,
it seems to be.
I think it very much is.
Or
Not just with belts, but also with gloves, collars.
yeah, how many belts is he wearing in this picture?
There are a lot of belts you can't see that I know are there. He had two belts on each thigh.
The thigh belt, something that I have never seen before.
He's got, I think, six belts on his loincloth that's hanging off of his other belt.
Wow.
And that's actually, that glove only, I think, has one belt on it, but his normal gloves have like eight belts on them.
What does this symbolize in the world of Guilty Gear? The belt frequency.
Well, I think what it symbolizes is thinking that, like, the, some of the like leather culture stuff, like the Hells Angels, looking at somebody in like a leather jacket with a belt, you know,
Mm.
and thinking that's the coolest shit in the world.
Like Hell's Angels leather culture or like international leather culture?
I I think my reading is more Hell's Angels than like Tom of Finland. Like I think
Okay.
I do think there's a lot of um like beautiful and sexualized masculinity in this art. I have no idea what the artist's actual like orientation is. But I think that when he draws a cool guy in a leather jacket and a bunch of belts, it's about projecting masculinity as subject and not as object.
Hmm. Yeah,
But I might be
interesting.
totally, totally wrong.
He wants to be wearing that many belts.
What do you think? Do you think it's more Tom of Finland?
Man, I don't even know. I mean, the this is probably it's probably silly to think about this in this much detail, but I am kind of intrigued by it now that I've gotten into it. Your functional belt, which is a very like masculine object, I think. That like it keeps all of it keeps your stuff together. It's the like last piece of clothing you put on. It's like you're locked in at that point.
Yeah.
So all of these characters that have belts as decoration, non-functional belts, belts that would make their clothing so time consuming to get out of if
Yeah.
they wanted to do so. What does that mean? Does that mean they can barely contain their demonic fight energy? Does it, and they need to, it would all just, they would come apart if they weren't belted up so hard? Does it mean that,
I think that idea of having to contain a sort of bursting energy might be part of it. When the character Venom, who is a magical pool player, comes out and he says, "Let's settle like gentlemen. I'll break," or whatever. Uh, his pool cue case, which is like a regular pool cue case, like it looks like a briefcase, but it's got like 16 of those little latches on it. So
it's great.
it's just a world in which things are always kind of getting slippery and becoming unfastened.
This is, you remember that part in that Sergio Leone film with the gun guy, the cool, awesome gun guy, played by Lee Van Cleef. He's like getting his gun set up, and his gun has like 300 little pieces in
Oh
it.
yeah,
His fussy ass
his
gun.
fussy little gun with a little stock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also, he is the best at shooting guns, and he is the coolest, hardest dude you ever saw. He's, he's like equal with Clint Eastwood in that movie. The
yeah.
other coolest, hardest man you ever saw. So,
We are talking about a few dollars more if you want to see the sole bad guy in Kai Kiske of the Old West uh,
phew,
do some gunslinging.
incredible movie.
Yeah,
So maybe this is a version of being tough and hard where it also accepts that it might take you about an hour to get dressed every morning, and that's what you know
yeah.
this is a sacrifice you are gonna have to make if you want to look this incredible.
I know we've been on this image for a little while, but I wanted to talk about something because you said when we look at the pencils, this looks like an abstract composition. I think that this is an abstract composition that has figures in it.
Hmm. Well, all of the everything. This is you're kind of getting close to the definition of what counts as abstraction, which is an interesting road to go down.
Yeah,
Uh, and one of the easy way to think about abstraction, first of all, is that it's just like goo on a canvas or on your 2D plane. You can't tell what it is. There's nothing there. It's a color field or
yeah,
it's just some lines. The the word abstraction, and I didn't have this idea myself. One of my art teachers told it to us. Is that you're not starting from zero in most cases. You are taking something that exists and you are abstracting it. You are taking out all of the signifiers and you are making it kind of incomprehensible, but the bones are still in there.
like the idea of Mondrian that you're like looking up at the sky through a tree, but it's being like disassembled.
Yeah, like at some stage, all of these are, in some sense, referring to things in existence.
You
And
actually cannot help but refer to things in existence.
yes.
Nobody has the option not to.
So looking at this and saying, is this abstract? Like everything here can, if I put my eyes on one little corner, it's like, well, that's a balustrade, that's a chain, that's a skull, that's a hand, that's a figure underneath. Their juxtaposition makes no sense.
Yeah,
It is almost hard to look at as a full image. It's completely disorienting. The way the composition is it's sort of symmetrical, but this symmetricalness of it is destroyed totally by that great red slosh of fabric falling off of the edge. Like
yeah.
it's not framed within the picture. It leans over. It's kind of all veering towards that way, which is then it really, really incredible decision.
Yeah.
It's a like an abstract image made up of stuff, actual stuff that you can still identify. It's just hard to look at it all at once.
Maybe a better word would be like collagistic.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
The angel in the gas mask, great idea. The weird Baroque tunnel and the drawing of Soul all seem to be part of different images, but they are all being drawn together as part of the same image.
We keep mentioning Baroque, and we should kind of explain that in more detail in case people aren't.
Okay, by Baroque, what I mean is um, well, if you want to talk about it as an art movement, then you would say that Baroque is like post what like class like neoclassicism. So the idea that actually in excess of detail and emotional energy is desirable, right?
And the more stuff you can fit in,
Yeah.
the better. Just more, 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 more.
So those the I think of like the sculptures of Bernini as like very beautiful Baroque work.
Yeah, and in architecture, and a lot of this, I think the fact that there's architecture in here, just little angels on everything, clouds, everything zooms away from you. It's all the being able to take it all in one glance. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
They want every surface to be continually almost like a fractal, revealing
Yeah.
new little things as you look deeper in, which this totally does.
I think you could spend probably an hour or more just sitting with this. I think there's a huge amount to take in.
Also, I think you wanted to mention the incredible foreshortening job in
Yeah.
our character here.
Speaking of posing, like, and we'll actually see this a little more in our last image. Um, the way that the kind of freedom he has to take a figure and orient it and then place it into perspective basically however he feels like, and it resolves. But if you just traced an outline of this figure, you wouldn't be able to tell it was a human body, right? By looking at it, you can say, okay, I know what's going on here. And I don't think it's really correct, right? You couldn't orient a body to an eye in such a way that it looked like that, but it feels right.
And then that's the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Shall I get the last piece?
Yeah, last piece.
All right, here we go.
All right. Another one that you might just want to take a second and figure out what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like it's a guy,
This is
and
a guy.
he's pulling his cloak over his head, maybe, and he's about to hit us with some sort of hammer.
Yeah.
And he probably just won the fight. That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah. This is Kagura Mutsuki from Blaze Blue, which is a kind of companion series to Guilty Gear. And actually at the end of that long handle is a sword that's kind of like Guts' sword from Berserk, which is just like a huge slab of metal that's like 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. And he probably is about to do a super it's gonna play a cinematic, and then it's gonna end, and then the announcer is gonna say astral finish, and then you will have lost.
Nice. We got a great belt eye view here.
Yeah, the hardware really pops out, right? It's so lovingly drawn and it feels so physical. And really thought in almost in the way that people who draw like mecha really think through all the physical pieces, right? It's really considered what is going on with the belt. That belt is hanging off of another belt. What's going on with that? What about the metal clasp that attaches one belt to the other, right? How would the light fall on that relative to the bronze buckle and roller of the first belt?
Wow, he's got a belt for his belt.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yo, dog.
Uh, and that little triangle of belts, well, it leads you right up to his shadowy face there in the back.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for you with his crazy eyes.
The other thing that leads to his face is the curve of his arm and cloak. The other thing that leads you to his face is his left hand, right? And which I think all of the drawings of hands that we've seen have been stunning. And this one especially is amazing. It's like statuesque. how the hand is being drawn.
Yeah.
The intensity of contrast to pick out the weight and dimensionality of the hands, the way that the spread fingers of the left hand sort of glow from within, like when you shine a flashlight on your own palm, you know?
Oof. Yeah.
Um, I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very exaggerated hand pose, but it, everything about these poses is exaggerated. And
Yeah.
it's also the amount of detail in the line drawing of the fingers is, it's not so simplified that it looks, like I don't know, like a Disney princess hand or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also not so knobbly that it's
Yeah.
looks like it got overworked real hard.
I really think
Just
it's a
just
drawing
perfect.
of how it feels to hold your hand like that, right? It's a drawing of the feeling.
Yeah, that makes sense. I One thing I like is I like the strong black shadows on his shirt that
Yeah.
kind of lead you up towards his face as well. They remind me of tiger stripes or something. They just look really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of good like fabric drapery stuff on all of the different clothes that he's wearing. For something that I believe is also being done with markers,
Yes.
the difference in texture in the for the different things being rendered, I think is like pretty dazzling. Like the belt seems sort of softer, where the and even though the cape and the pants are both black, they seem to be made out of different material. There's like a very confident big black shadow on the thigh.
Yeah. Wow, if you zoom in really close, it's like parts of this he's kept completely smooth, but the pants, you can kind of see where there's little marker slashes where one goes over another one, and I think that's part of what's giving it that texture.
Yeah,
Even in the dark black shadow you mentioned, the marker has been applied so that it gets a little lighter towards the bottom of the page, which is giving you a bit of that like fabric texture
yeah.
that you don't see elsewhere.
And the way that
Ugh.
like the seat of his pants is like that light blue color, so there's like reflected light hitting from
Mhm.
somewhere, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, this is crazy. I can't imagine being like, I'm gonna do my guy, but it's gonna be like he's like looming over you. And what's most of the image is going to be his crotch.
Yeah,
But I know that I can make this so it doesn't actually look crazy.
yeah. It's it, and a lot of these, I think all the ones we've seen have this blank white background, right?
Yeah.
And this character is furnishing his own background, right? Because this isn't a conventional just figure sitting in space, but it is like a camera, like a really dramatic camera shot. Um, he occupies in a kind of like fore to mid ground the entire image, right? You
Hmm.
couldn't put anything in the background. You need some other thing just to give it a little breathing room because as soon as you drop below that like 3/4 horizontal width, like it's so intense and busy.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff is wild.
Yeah.
Really, really cool to look at. This is not you know, this is very different from the other things that we've looked at. And it's neat to see stuff that's kind of, I imagine these are all sort of character design drawings, but not guidelines for how these are how you draw the pixels in the video game. This is
Yeah.
more like this is an art piece about this guy that I designed previously.
Yeah, I think it's either I'm drawing this on my own time because I like it, or I'm sometimes they're commissions for magazines or whatever, and sometimes I think they fulfill that role of concept artist. I'm just trying to get across to you what this character is all about.
Yeah. Whether his vibe is slinky and graceful and pink, or whether his thing is uh wow, biggest
Whatever this is.
whatever this is. I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah.
It's good. We're safe under his enveloping cape, though, and that's something.
Here's the thing
Lights
I'll
out
say.
for us.
This guy,
Yeah,
the art is good. The more of the, drawings and marking, like marker work and paintings you find, they're good. If you listen to the music, it's really good. And if you play the games, they're good.
I don't know. It sounds like they're pretty hard, Abelard. It sounds like it's pretty hard to play these video games.
Well, they're hard. They are hard. Any competitive game is hard.
Mm, they're just there's so much happening on the screen. I think it would make me be nervous. But
Viewer, if you're curious, if you want to get into fighting games, why not message us in the comments and I, Abelard, will pop in and give you some little tips because it doesn't need to be as hard as all that, and I think they're fun and exciting.
wow, it's not as hard as all that.
No.
I guess I could play a little and then I could go lay down with the pillow over my head
Yeah.
to calm down, you know?
Not to suffocate yourself.
Give myself that's
Okay.
what I meant. I mean, to kind of go and lie in the darkness for a while.
A little sensory deprivation break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'd have so much dopamine that I'd have to kind of like simmer down afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, like when you stay up too late playing fighting games and then you have to kind of pace around for a while before you go to bed.
Yeah, because I'm too excited because of the things that happened to me.
Because of all your amazing victories. And you know what, if I did a drawing like this, I would also have to pace around for a little while. But damn, I'm so good.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
Someday, maybe someday when I could do a drawing like a quarter this good, maybe.
Well, what's so great, as I said, some of the stuff is from the art book, and a lot of the time he says, I really biffed it on this one.
And it's like one of these. It's like one of these amazing projects. Yeah.
I don't know why it kind of came out looking like this.
This is the
People
beauty
don't like
of
it when I
art.
paint with acrylics, but I really want to.
The best thing about art is
Yeah.
that you can never be good enough to satisfy yourself.
Yep. And
It's
yet
perfect.
we muddle along.
And yet you keep doing it because there's always something. There's always a fancier man with more belts
Yeah.
that you haven't drawn yet, and he's out there somewhere. He's like, he's like a green light in the distance. You can almost reach him, but maybe next time. Well, here's hoping you find whatever it is you're longing for.
Yep. And until next time, keep on dreaming.
Oh, we said it together.
Yeah.
See what
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. Thanks for watching.